Hi, my name is Tanja. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to do an intro to Ayurveda today, a very short version to give you a general idea about what Ayurveda is. So Ayurveda is the holistic ancient medicine from India. It's about 5,000 years old, or maybe older, we don't really know. We claim to be the oldest holistic medicine in the world. So does Chinese medicine, but they're both very similar, and you will see how similar they are once you hear all the things I'm going over. So I want to first start with, we believe everything in the world is made up of 5 elements, including us. So we are these 5 elements in body, mind, and spirit. I'm going to use my fingers because each finger is assigned to a different element. We are the element of earth. So earth is our physical structure, our bones, teeth, skin. It's what helps us stay calm, grounded, stable. Water is actually all the fluids in our body, and that is from menstruation to urine, sweat, lymph. It's love and compassion. The fire element, Agni, is usually, most people think of it as the digestive system, but there are many Agnis in our body. It's any time transformation is happening. So of course, in the belly, when you eat something, the transformation is from food into nutrients, but we also have different Agnis throughout the body, and anytime there's transformation happening, it's a different kind of Agni. But also mentally, anytime you are transforming sensory intakes into wisdom or knowledge, or let's say you're reading a book and you're transforming that into wisdom or knowledge. That's another Agni. The element of air is all the movement in your body, and that can be as small as your heart beating, the movement of your bowels going down, the movement of your menstruation going down, your eyes blinking, even small movements like ticks or twitches in your eyes. But it's also the movement of thought. The good elements of air is excitement, joy, happiness. So any light movement is air. So this one is ether or space, and I often explain it as it's almost what makes sense to you what this is. Ether or space can be consciousness, but also maybe God, goddess, divine energy. It's the original element that all the other elements were born out of. So ether or space, whatever your lineage is, what you want to call it, is present where all the other elements are as well, but it's also present when none of the other ones are. It gives us the ability to feel energy, to create art. So those are the 5 elements. So 2 of these elements now always buddy up to create what we call a dosha. And there I want to already say there are 2 different times we describe things as dosha, and that can be your prakruti or prakriti, that is your constitution, or your vikruti or vikriti, which are your imbalances. So prakriti, your constitution, at the moment of conception, you are given a combination of these 3 doshas. And that makes you who you are. It will always be there. No matter how out of balance you are, these 3 doshas are underneath still who you are. Most of us are dominant in one dosha. A lot of us have 2 very dominant doshas. It's very rare that all 3 are exactly even. I'm going to horribly stereotype these doshas for a moment. But I also want to mention first why we say the moment of conception versus the moment of birth, because we believe right after conception you can already go out of balance because maybe your mother experienced trauma while she was pregnant with you, or she was eating the wrong foods or doing drugs. So these things can already affect you as you are in your mother's belly. So your Prakriti constitution you receive at the moment of conception if you are dominant in Vata doshas. So let's describe what these Vatas, dominant Vatas look like. I often think of them as the ballet dancers or gymnasts. They have long, narrow arms. When you look at the hands, the fingers are long and narrow. The palm of the hand, the faces are long and narrow. Often smaller eyes, little nose, little lips, longer, narrow necks. They have when you meet them, you almost feel like they're light, right? They're air and ether, so there's a lightness about them. They often feel like they're floating, and they often don't have a college degree just because they're almost like hopping from beautiful flower to beautiful flower, like a butterfly or a bumblebee. They have a hard time sticking with one thing because they get so excited. They really love something so much that they are all in, but then they move to a next thing, move to a next thing without ever finishing something. They have often drier hair, maybe thinner hair. They're artists, they're creative, but even a Vata in balance has this ether energy about them that they feel they're like natural healers. They can do Reiki very easily. So those are the Vatas. Then Pitta, if you're dominant in Pitta dosha, I often describe them as physically appearing like a soccer player, meaning medium build, right? They create muscles easily, but not super big, just kind of cut up. They have strong jaw bones. There's an intensity about them often. They're very smart. They are fire and water. So the fire is what makes them very smart. And the water is what gives them love and compassion. So they are often doctors or lawyers or CEOs. They run a company. They're very structured. They're great at problem solving. They love making lists to the point where they may finish a task, add it to the list just so they can cross it off. They often have more of a pinkish tint to their skin. They feel warmer because of the fire element they have. They're often hungry. If you don't feed them, they can get hangry. Their Agni is very strong. Kaphas I describe as the natural bigger people, right? So they look like Hawaiians, native Hawaiians, or linebackers. If you saw my husband Bill at any of the pictures, he's a true Kapha. They have, the fingers are thicker and rounder, they have bigger palms. They are often massage therapists like Bill, or panchakarma therapists, aroma therapists, all the things my husband actually does, because they're very loving and nurturing. They are earth and water. So they're often very grounded, very stable, amazing support people, often not the leaders. That's what the Pittas do. So again, see yourself in all three. Just know you might find yourself dominant in one or two, and you may already think of a person you know that is, oh, I know my sister, my friend, they definitely a Vata. It's much harder for ourselves to figure out what our dosha is. When we talk about the imbalances, the Vikruti or the Vikriti, just know you are more likely to go out of balance in your dominant dosha, but not necessarily. A lot of people are out of balance in Vata, which is movement. So anytime you experience trauma, that brings Vata energy into your life, which is that movement of the air. When out of balance a Vata in Vata, it shows as anxiety, overwhelm, worry. It has the qualities of the air, which is dry and cold and mobile. So that's what that movement in your mind is. Pitta imbalances are where the heat shows up. For example, anger, resentment, hate. However, see it as it's always a secondary emotion. For Pittas, it's often sadness in the heart that they haven't dealt with yet, because they're more of the people that just go, go, go. They often can burn out of their hormone systems because they're the leaders, not just the CEO of their company, but also the CEO of their family, where they're taking care of their parents, their kids. So Pitta out of balance, I often see Hashimoto's, thyroid stuff. So usually just burning through some kind of hormone system. They often get redness in the skin, eczema, psoriasis, too much fire in the belly, which shows as diarrhea, acid reflux. So they have that fire element that comes up. Kapha out of balance is more of the too grounded, meaning, well, I shouldn't use the word grounded, more of a stuck, too down with their energy, depressed, sleeping too much, right? Not wanting to get up. So they can have the tendency to then gain weight, be too overweight, sluggishness, the kind of depression you often see where they don't leave their house, they're just sitting on the couch watching movies, eating bonbons, right? That's kind of a kapha imbalance. So again, you may find yourself having a mixture of all, and that is totally normal. But just know you are most likely all three doshas in some kind of a percentage, but also you may have imbalances in all three that you can relate to. Thank you so much for joining me today, and let me know if I can help you with any of the questions. Thank you.